Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss. In recent revelations of mutants in the MCU have turned us all into sentinels in a mutant hunt. The specific way Kamala Khan was established as a mutant genealogically has us wondering what other MCU newcomers with mysterious power sets might also come with a 90s X-Men riff sometime soon. Now, I too found it suspicious that Ned suddenly acquired the powers of sorcery in Spider-Man No Way Home, but a character Marvel Studios doesn't have to share with Sony, whom Kamala will soon team up with a backstory equally sus, is Monica Rambeau, aka Photon, co-star to Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers in the upcoming The Marvels. And now when I go back to rewatch WandaVision, something I do on a weekly basis just because I like to wallow in my shame, a lot of the loose ends from that series seem to point in the same direction now after Ms. Marvel, that Monica Rambeau in the 616 MCU may be a mutant. Now, to be clear, in the Marvel Comics, Monica Rambeau is not a mutant. She gets her powers by helping a colleague of her grandfather track down a device that drains energy from other dimensions, tech that she tries to destroy with her bare hands, that ends up bombarding her with extra-dimensional energy that allows her to convert her body mass into any form of electromagnetic energy. No X-gene, no, na-na-na-na-na-na. But then again, not being a mutant in the comics didn't stop the MCU from making Kamala Khan a na-na-na-na-na-na. Monica Rambeau goes mostly by spectrum in the Marvel Comics, but also had the rank of Captain Marvel at one point, and also goes under the moniker of Photon. And it seems like Photon is what the MCU is going to be calling her, based on Photon being the call sign of her mother, Maria, and Kamala and Bruno referencing Photon gloves in episode 1 of that show. But the episodes of WandaVision were super cryptic about Monica's past and when exactly she acquired her powers. We know that she fully powered up into her final Photon form in episode 7 when she pushed through the Hex wall. And notice at the beginning of that clip, there was an initial energy charge sound effect that sounded a lot like the sound of the Infinity Stones charging up Thanos' gauntlet in Infinity War. A sound effect I only recognize because I have one of those Infinity Gauntlets, and sometimes something just bumps it in my closet and it starts to make that noise and it freaks me out. Like, Thanos, what are you doing in my closet? Also, you can come out whenever you're ready. I've seen some of those photos you've been posting online. But that sound effect was because the Hex Wall was composed of CMBR, cosmic microwave background radiation, the electromagnetic radiation that has existed in the universe since the Big Bang, which is the event that also gave us the Infinity Stones, meaning that Monica and Wanda and Carol were all enhanced by cosmic radiation derived from Infinity Stones. But that's not all, because WandaVision episode 8 showed that Wanda's powers did not originate with the Infinity Stone. As a child, years before Hydra experimented on her, she was able to cast a low-level probability hex to keep that Stark warhead from detonating. In a video recently, I explained how, in the MCU, it seems like 3 components are needed for the activation of any superpowered mutant. 1, a genetic predisposition, aka a mutant gene that serves as a lock mechanism. 2, an energy source that the mutant draws power from, the pulsing energy on the other side of that locked door waiting to be opened up. And 3, a trigger event that unlocks that mutant gene that enables the mutant to use that energy. That trigger could be puberty or some personal trauma. For many of us, puberty is traumatic enough. In Wanda's case, I think the trauma was not the Infinity Stone exposure, that merely amplified what was already there. And in Monica's case, while that cosmic radiation amplified her into Photon, there is evidence that other things were going on with her long before that. Moments before she passed through the Hex wall, she rips the hatch clean off of that rover and it flies off its hinges. Now, you could say this happened after she had previously gone through the Hex wall twice, when she first went into it and then when Wanda threw her back out. But in the flashback to her post-blip return back in episode 4, a man rematerializing bumps into her and gets completely leveled. He has at least a foot on her and she barely budges. And then after she got ousted from the Hex in episode 5, there was this odd moment with the sword doctor.
We're gonna need to take these again. There's something wrong with the machine.
Those are blank.
Like I said.
Well, what about our labs?
I need another blood draw.
No. We're done here. she does that.
And for me, this is the most suspicious, because while it arguably makes sense that Monica's scans would come out blown out after her radiation exposure, the doctor re-examining her blood is what freaks her out. This tells her that Monica knows that there is something weird about her blood that would show up in her DNA that she does not want SWORD to detect. Now, if there's one thing I've learned from watching Thor: Love and Thunder, it's that it takes a lot of energy to be a god. But for the rest of us, G Fuel has crammed plenty of that godly get up and go into their new Lightning Lemonade Sparkling Hydration, inspired by Marvel Studios' Thor: Love and Thunder. Ooh, that's pretty good. Lightning Lemonade in these 17-ounce bottles is a perfect summer drink in that it's everything you love about Thor and lemonade in this same bottle. It's got no calories, no sugar, and no caffeine. Dehydration ends here and now. What it does have are focused aminos and a bunch of antioxidants and vitamins to keep you hydrated no matter what you're doing, making videos, gaming, or trying to sort out your relationship with Jane Foster. You can get Lightning Lemonade at gfuel.com as part of the Hydration Collector's Box. If you want sparkling hydration bottles, you can find those on gfuel.com and coming soon to amazon.com. So click the link in the description and use code NEWROCKSTARS to get 30% off. And thanks to G Fuel for sponsoring this video. It actually reminds us of Bruno running scans of Kamala's DNA on his tablet, first in Ms. Marvel episode 2.
So it looks like your power isn't coming from the bangle. It's coming from within you. Like the bangle unlocked the superhuman part of you.
And then revisited famously in the finale.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes, like a mutation.
And I cannot let this go, but it is super weird that Bruno collects Kamala's DNA and keeps this information on his tablet. I don't care if the kid's smart enough to get into Caltech early. It is crazy and creepy that he has this information. Anyway, like Kamala, Monica may have something unusual about her DNA, something that enhanced her body from a young age, enough to stand her ground when dudes slam into her in the hospital, and to blast hatches off of rovers. And Monica knows this, but may or may not know why. The why is that I think this is another example of a mutation, an X gene. So if we run Monica through those three components, she would have 1, a genetic precondition of a mutant gene, 2, she draws energy from the CMBR, and 3, all that would be left is what is her trauma? What's her trigger event? WandaVision hinted at this history. As Monica rematerialized after the blip, you could hear voices of her mother, Maria Rambeau, talking with Carol Danvers and Nick Fury during the 2019 Captain Marvel film.
Lieutenant Trouble.
We hear these voices return as Monica pushes through the hex wall in episode 7.
I can't. It's okay. It's okay. There's no way I'm going, baby. It's too dangerous.
Maybe I could fly up and meet you halfway.
Only if you learn to glow.
And you are the most powerful person I know.
Your mom, she died.
Truly an inspiration.
Your mom's lucky. When they were handing out kids, they gave her the toughest one.
And that final shove comes right after Carol's line. And in terms of mood and potential trauma, Monica looks well motivated. I mean, fellow Sentinels, if we're seeking trauma, to do some armchair psychoanalysis here, which is hard for me to do because I'm at least an undiagnosed version of Monica's other name, Spectrum. It seems to me that Monica holds Carol responsible for her mother getting cancer, and Monica wishes that she herself could have been able to glow like Auntie Carol and to meet her mom halfway in space to save her from Auntie Carol, and now blames Carol for never once visiting during Maria's cancer treatments. That resentment was obvious when Jimmy Woo brought up Carol in episode 5.
Well, I'd argue that Captain Marvel came close.
Her powers came from an Infinity Stone too, right?
We are not talking about her, we are talking about Wanda.
So really, the trigger for Monica could have been her mother's cancer diagnosis, sometime after the events of Captain Marvel, when Monica would have been a young teenager. That is what first activated Monica's mutant gene on a small scale, enhancing her body's constitution until fuller exposure to cosmic radiation fully powered her up into the next woman Bruno's gonna start tracking with this creepy app. Let me know your thoughts on this theory, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss. Follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love. Thanks for watching, bye.